Hi y'all, it's Freeze Cracked. Hey, saw some more discussion online with people talking about turtles and how much problem they have working turtles. And so I thought I'd try and work another turtle to help with the reduction thoughts. This is a nice classic turtle that was created probably with a lot of frustration by somebody a very long time ago. You can tell all this turtleness has patina on it, hydration rind and patina. It's a big piece of whitish concrete or cortex or something in there. The bottom of it, they got a little bit flat, but had a lot of trouble with this rock. So it's very possible that this rock is going to be a difficult one, tough one, etc. So I'm going to try and reduce this. My strategy is different from some people's. Some people, when they have a flat bottom on a turtle and a lot of convexity on top, is they try and create convexity on the bottom, and by doing so raise the edges closer to the top to deal with that. I don't really tend to do that, and that's been a fundamental difference in the way I do stuff versus a lot of other people. I like to have a bunch of flakes be thinning flakes, overshots and stuff like that from the start of stuff, even when it's a big rock. Whereas a lot of people create a bunch of convexity and keep that convexity as they work in. I think I'm in the minority in keeping everything flat more. So you can use convexity and have a fair amount of convexity on both sides and work your way in on making a point. But you just have to bear in mind that whatever you do, your flakes need to be running more than halfway across the face or you're not thinning. So if you're having trouble climbing the convexity and getting stuff to go past the center point, you're not thinning, you need to figure out how to do it. One way you can make stuff run farther on convexity is like put stuff on the back of your leg and hit it and use a leg pad that sort of traps the flake and makes it run. But just keep an eye on every flake. You need to be really analytical and see what's going on there. Anyway, so this is super steep. I can't hit really right there because the angle's wrong. It would be a hinge type hit. That's real steep. I don't have a lot of good I can do right here. I kind of like to attack things on what I call the corners sometimes. And the reason I do is because when I attack them on the corners, I tend not to be losing length and I tend not to be losing width because most of the points I make don't have. Now if you're doing something triangular and big wide out on the bottom or something, maybe you want to attack from the corners on the top or whatever. But I'm real opportunistic. I mean, I'm looking at where I'm at on stuff. Like for instance, this is higher, so I could knock this down a little bit and be almost right there to go ahead and shoot across the top if I want to. On the other hand, this is really low and this is a gradual slope, so if I wanted to knock down on this and come in to shoot across the top, I'd end up losing probably an inch or more of length, so I don't want to do that. I can't do anything well with this at all right now, so I'm not going to do anything with it. Really, that part I showed you right there is about the best, but before I do that, I think I'm going to hit here and take across in this mass, and then maybe hit there and just feather into right there. Just to see, because I know nothing about this rock either. When you have this kind of thin rind or cortex, it tends to be very slippery, and if you're hitting straight in, it doesn't matter. One thing that I was talking about with turtles too is tool choice. You know, with hammerstones, you have different size hammerstones and stuff. If you're using hammerstones, with boppers, you have different size boppers. I'm concerned that a lot of people that are having problems making turtles, in part it might be the rock that they're choosing. It could be the back end support that they're not doing enough of. It could be that they're not abrading enough and their platforms are collapsing. But it could also be their tool choice, because if you take and you say, well, this rock is about the size that I would use this tool, you ain't going to get nowhere with that, because you can't do much with this little tool on this big, hard Texas tough rock, raw rock. You can't, you know, your platform has to stand up and not fail, and your back edge support has to be there and underneath where it doesn't hinge down, but if you don't have enough mass in your billet to drive a flake more than halfway across, then you're just losing from the start. And what happens is new nappers, they hit a little while and they make hinges. And so they're like, well, how do I avoid making hinges? And they start doing things and they see what makes it where they don't do hinges. And finally they're not getting any hinges anymore, and they're going, yay, I'm not getting any hinges anymore. But what they've done to compensate is usually that they've steepened their angles and they're taking shorter flakes at a more downward thing, and they're creating more convexity, and they end up with turtles. That's not the solution for hinges. The solution for hinges is figure out which flake you need to take where, and where you want to come out and how far you got to cut through, and then figure out how to make that happen. Don't punt on it. So I'm going to go with my big heavy thing like I usually do, and I can stick it on the back of my leg and I can hit like this, but with this particular rock it's not real good for support because it's not that big a rock. And when I try and support the back edge, I mean, I can support it like this and hold it above the pad and hit it, but then I'm just stabilizing my hand. I just as soon stabilize the back of my hand and hold it out here and hit it. But I'm going to hit it at a flat angle to try and drive through there. And this is my first hit of the day, so I may screw up. Okay. So that's an overshot, and it blew off part of that back edge, which is a square edge, and it raised it some because it blew it off. And this rock actually looks better than I expected it to be, although I see holes in it. I'm not sure what that's all about. But the rock does not seem nearly as bad as I thought it would be from the trouble an old boy apparently had with it. So we'll see. But I'm still going to follow my plan and try and hit up on here some and come in there. But I might actually try and drive it farther than I said. We'll see. Okay, so what we've got there is, you know, a flattening feathering into right in here. But we're flattening and we're keeping stuff flat, which is a plan. And I would love to, you know, raise this delta and hit on a little bit, but it's very steep there. I don't have a very good angle, and I haven't got any weight off my ends yet. You always would like to get weight off your ends. And it's not that important when you've got a real fat rock like this, but it's just a good habit to get into. Get the weight off your ends. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead. I've got a low platform right here, so I'm going to hit that and go ahead and take a little bit there. Oh, was that my yard guy? Didn't hit hard enough. I had stepped down and I was trying to actually pull on a little thing over there, and I didn't have my support right, and that's why those first flakes didn't go. Still early. I haven't been hitting much. That might be my yard guy. If it is, then I stop for a while. Come right in here. And I tried to hit that one fast and a little more downward angle to feather it out, because that part was lower than over here, so I didn't want to go too far across. Same thing right here. Because that was so steep, the thing was skating a little bit, and when it skates down, when you slip closer to the edge than you're expecting, it doesn't work. It ends up stepping. That's true with pressure too. I'm holding in here, and up at the front I'm going to drive one trying to cut off some of that crap I created. So now a bunch of that's gone. So what do we want to do? We have to deal with this somehow. To have all my turtle, haven't done anything with the turtle. but I'm trying to figure out where I will lose the least. The problem is, if I raise this, I can't really raise it enough to cut all this big hump off of. So I need to, what I'm going to actually do is this is rare for me, but I'm going to lose a little length. I usually make long points. I'm going to lose a little length. I'm going to knock off here and try and shoot back along there, I think. But I'm trying to hit fairly flat to raise it. I don't want to create a big bevel on here. I'm trying to go in fairly flat so that I don't, lose too much length. Okay, so that ridge right there is what I'm trying to hit. And I'm going my biggest billet, and I'm going to support the crap out of it, because support is going to be critical on this. So I'm holding it real back there. And it's gone. And now I've got this other, where I need to just kind of go in between those two ridges that I created and carefully get that nice and smooth, and get rid of that high spot. Putting that on the pad. And I was trying to be aggressive with the angle on that. I lowered it quite a bit. And so, and we're going to do a little more. Raise this a tiny bit more. I've lowered this a lot. This is the highest point now, and this is a long run for it, but it's the best run for me to do because this doesn't work very well. This is the slope. So I've got it, you want it really abraded good. I braided a little bit along the ridge. I'm going to hold really tight on the back. I'm going to put my pad supporting this right here and hit it hard. Blew it. I had my angle a little bit wrong and it crushed out. So now I've got one more chance on this. Knock that off. And what I've got to try and do is come to the side of it and undercut. I'm stepping down a size in bopper because I'm going to try and get some velocity to blow through that. And it worked. It would have been nice to go further or to undercut even more, but it worked. Got one more ridge, and maybe I can do something with it, maybe I can't. Then I'm probably going to stop this and do something else until they quit, and then I'll start over. There it is. So I'm turning this off, and I'll be back when they're through mowing. Bye for now. Preach crack.